Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Joaquin. I will be chairing this e-poster session entitled Citizen Science Centers. This is part one. Very briefly, each presenter will have 5 minutes to present their poster. All posters, you can see them online. They can be accessed through the conference program. I will provide a very short time at the end of each presentation for a quick question and please a quick response from the presenters. So everyone listening, you can ask your questions in the chat. You don't have to wait until the presentation is done. If your question is not read out loud, don't worry, the technical team later on in the breaks will provide private Zoom meetings. So you can ask your questions directly to the presenter, and each poster has a means of contact, so you can contact the presenters later on. So having said that, let's just move to the first presenter, Ricardo Mutugarria, and his presentation entitled From Science Centers, so citizens to Citizen Science Centers. So Ricardo, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. I want to first just mention, talk a little bit about me. I'm a scientist that moved into science communication after quite a few years of research and ended up working at museums and science centers. During the time I was working at the American Museum of Natural History, I encountered a community lab, a GeneSpace in Brooklyn, New York, and I worked there for nearly 3 years. And that kind of changed my direction, the direction of my profession. And my goal was to bring that sort of community lab, open science model to my country, in this case to Bilbao, to the city of Bilbao in the Basque Country. And this is why I'm presenting as a science center, but it's actually it's a citizen science center. It's a place for people to be able to practice science to its full extent. BIOC is the organization I created. It's a non-profit institution, and well, we do open science, promote scientific culture, and work in community biology, citizen science, do-it-yourself biology. Fortunately, we managed to get founded by a local bank, which is the BBK. BBK Foundation has been financing for 2 years a program of open science, practical science, citizen science, and we run a number of events such as, well, the Citizen Microscopy Station, an open microscopy lab for citizenship, and we also have a very successful open science, very practical festival called BBK Open Science, where people can do everything there from detecting GMOs in their food to doing analysis of their cells to check the health of their cells and so on. So what we found is the people of Bilbao was very keen and very open to practicing science, much more than what we expected. The first year we sold more than 4,000 tickets for the Open Science Festival. And then we also found, as you can see here, that more than 88% of the people that in the survey we did, they confirmed the need for a community biolab in Bilbao. This is only 1 year after we started our activities here, where nobody before had heard of citizen science or community biology. Fortunately, we were again hired by the BBK Foundation, and they finance the design of a citizen science center in the city of Bilbao. For that, I managed to put together a team of international experts, which you can see at the acknowledgement part of the poster. Very talented people that helped me to create a study of the context, competitive landscape, also to create the sustainability program for the business plan, and the values of the space, and so on. Well, the results, basically we have created a space that is a hybrid between a science center, a research center, social innovation hub, but there's also a business incubator and a community city lab. We have our values are based on circular economy and an economy for common good. So this is what we want to promote through science, not only research, but practical research that has an impact in the community, and is also a job generator, and is also a generator of products and services. Basically, what I want to conclude is that this is already in a specific location, the city of Bilbao, and it's almost 800 square meters, 2 halls, production hall and dissemination hall. The conclusion is basically that, you know, science centers are not providing a space for people to do science. If you ask any science center, almost nobody entering the science center is actually doing science, real science, applying scientific method and using science for social improvement or individual improvement. So we found the need for such spaces. This is a space that is going to be both digital and physical, and it's going to contain the resources for the community to meet and to do practical science. Basically, I, again, want to acknowledge the people who did the work with me, because they did a fantastic work.
Thank you, Ricardo. I'm sorry to cut you off. We have to move on to the next presentation. Everyone else, please go to see the poster and contact Ricardo if you have further questions. Next up, we have Dan Stanton and Vivian Bird with the poster entitled "Discover How Libraries Are Catalyzing Citizen Science." So guys, you have the virtual floor.
Thank you. My name is Dan Stanton. I am an academic librarian at Arizona State University, and our poster is Libraries as Community Hubs for Citizen Science. Now, we're not going to spend time here this morning talking about citizen science, because we all know that you know about citizen science. What we want to talk about is public libraries working with citizen science. Here in the United States, there are more public libraries. There are close to 17,000 public libraries, more than Starbucks here in the US, and 100% of them nearly 100% provide Wi-Fi and have no fee access to computers. In 2016, there were 1.4 billion in-person visits to public libraries, which is about 4 million visits every day. And there were 113 million attendees at public library programs in 2016, more than Major League Baseball, National League Football, and National Basketball Association. So again, if we think about those locations as opportunities, places that people go to, another factor is that public libraries are safe community places. They are open and available to all. There is an existing infrastructure to loan equipment. They loan books, they loan equipment. They provide quality resources in their collections, and they host programs. So they are trusted and accessible institutions. And another important thing for citizen science, they really do know their local communities. So there is a great potential for citizen science there. So with our project, about 4 years ago, we began working with public libraries and citizen science. And one of the first things that we did was we worked with the Institute for Museum and Library Services, and got a grant where we created citizen science kits. So these were self-contained citizen science project kits that people could check out from their public library and do the programming, which was great because it could also be cross-promoted with other programs that go on in the libraries, and they work with everyone from small children to seniors in the community. And so once we got going with that, we looked for other ways of supporting libraries. And so we created SciStarter.org library resources. There are a number of resources, free and brandable promotional and programming resources at SciStarter.org/library resources. If you see here in this offer turnkey programs and events, there's a few links in there. So that was what we did, and we began working with the National Libraries of Medicine to promote Citizen Science Day, which I'm sure you are all familiar with, and also Citizen Science Month. And so we provided all of these resources for programming and promotion. And last year, we were really working on it, and in March, COVID hit. Now, Citizen Science Month was April, so a lot of plans went away. Libraries closed as physical spaces, but we really found that people, students, people stuck in their houses were really hungry for ways to engage in educational, safe activities, doing science learning, things that were fun. And so we shifted to virtual programming again, which is possible with resources and our support. So SciStarter, SciStarter.org, again came through linking citizen science to popular summer reading programs in public libraries that were seriously affected by the COVID shutdown. And these have been very popular. So again, it was the trusted value of libraries in the community plus the resources and support from SciStarter to introduce people to citizen science and help them get going on board. And we would like to invite you to continue by going to SciStarter.org/Citizen Science Month-mailing list. And Citizen Science Month 2021 is not that far away. If you get on there, we have lots of ways to stay in touch and contact and help you promote your citizen science programs, help you get started. I will ask Vivian if she has anything to add to this.
Hi guys, we have a quick question from the audience, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, we have Petra that is asking if libraries are evenly distributed among communities. If you can make a quick comment about that.
No. Again, a lot of it is based on the size of the community. So again, like I am here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and Vivian is in Los Angeles. So again, we have very large populations, and so there are a number of public libraries. But when you get out into the rural areas, there may be one building that has one staff person that is responsible for checking out books and things like that. But you know, again, with the resources we provide, the free resources we provide, and programming support, even those rural small libraries can get involved with citizen science, and they can partner with schools, universities, museums in the area, things like that. It's a perfect match.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. We're gonna move on then next to the next presentation.
Okay, thank you.
We have the final presentation of this short e-poster session, which is gonna be led by Marika Zielinski, is that correct? With the e-poster entitled Impacts of Citizen Science Projects with Schools, Consolidating Partnerships Between Research and Education. So Marika, thank you.
Thank you. So basically, my name is Marika, as Joaquin said. I'm from the Center for Citizen Science in Vienna. And today I would like to give you some insight into how impacts of citizen science projects with schools can look like regarding partnerships, but also regarding participants. So we collected a lot of experience during a citizen science funding program called Sparkling Science. It was initiated by the Austrian Ministry of Education, Science and Research in 2007, and it lasted for 12 years with a budget of around 35 million euro, and it was able to fund 300 citizen science projects, which is pretty amazing for us. And we had a lot of participants, so you can see the numbers on the poster. We had around 95,000 pupils and several thousands of teachers and scientists and students that participated. The projects were from different research disciplines, as you can see in this chart. So natural sciences, social sciences, and so on. And during those 12 years, we had 5 program evaluations. And 2 of them are here. Well, some results of 2 you can see on this poster. So we were specifically interested to understand if cooperations continued after the projects finished. And positively, they actually did. So 90% of respondents of a survey said they're still in contact with one or even more project partners from the Sparkling Science projects. And mostly those contacts were with schools or with universities, and they can take many different forms. So it can be like informal contacts, which are still very, very important, or they organize together events or conduct research work together, and many other things. So it is also important to, or it was important to understand how were they able to finance these corporations, because of course it is hard after a project ends. Even if costs are relatively low, you have maybe only to pay for travel costs, but even this might be too much. So some managed through institutional financing, some did get new funded projects where they could go on with the corporations, and some just formally established corporations in form of associations, for example, or other kinds of contracts. What we also saw and we're very happy about is that this Sparkling Science experience, that cooperating in these citizen science projects, that they were seen in their research institutions, but also outside. So there were stronger collaborations internally in research institutions, but also in schools. Also, some participants were asked to join in international projects like Horizon 2020 or COST. And then also we could see that due to a higher regional media coverage, also there was a higher visibility within a region. So also here, new corporations were able to be established. So apart from these partnerships, what we also saw that there were, of course, a lot of positive impacts on participants. So teachers, for example, they enjoyed that they could break out of their daily routine. They got new recognition or more recognition from their schools, and they gained new perspectives. Just the same as for pupils, where they could gain new insight into scientific working. They could improve their skills like critical thinking. But also what we saw was that self-confidence was improved. And scientists, of course, apart from new research knowledge, for example, they improved their science communication skills. So overall, we think that the funding program reached its aim and managed to actually get research and education closer together. So we're very happy that this was succeeded. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marika, for your presentation. For those of us just joining the channel, this is the beginning of ePoster session 3 and the end of the ePoster session 1. So we're moving on to the next session entitled Citizen Science Centers Part 2. So remember, to all the presenters, you have 5 minutes. We'll have a short time to answer a quick question from the audience at the end of each presentation. So everyone listening, you can ask your questions through the chat room and we'll read them out loud. The first presentation we have is Viola Hoffman, presenting Science Centers as a broker for citizen science. Viola, if you can hear us well. We cannot really see you, but we can see your poster, and I believe we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello, Viola, you have the floor.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go right ahead with your presentation then.
Start, I guess.
Yes, you can start, Viola.
I would about science centers as broker for citizen science and present to you new format, the forum, as part of the experimenta. And first of all, in
We're having a hard time hearing you, Viola.
Centers define themselves so consumer and
Viola, we cannot really hear you for now. Can you hear us? If it's okay, we're gonna move on to the next session, to the next presentation. Sorry, we'll go back to Viola if you can get a better connection with her. Let's go to the presentation by Jeff Van Leer. I don't know if you're there.
Yes.
And your e-poster perfectly. Yes. Your poster is entitled "Setting Up a Regional Citizen Science Center: The Story of Flanders, Belgium." So yes. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. So before going into what we do and what our role, how we see our role in citizen science in Flanders, I'll go into some history and context first. And of course, citizen science was a thing and was happening in Belgium before we even ever called it citizen science. So there's examples from the Royal Meteorological Institute and the Flemish Marine Institute. But citizen science really started gaining momentum and generating awareness more recently with really high-end projects like Curieuze Neuzen, measuring air quality in the entire Flemish region, or more bottom-up initiatives in cities. Now, what really put citizen science on the radar of academia and policymakers is pioneering work performed by the Flemish Young Academy and popular science magazine EOS. They released a policy document in 2016, and they also built out a platform for citizen science projects to reach the general public. Now, following on from this, in 2018, the Flemish government actually started funding 13 new citizen science projects. In 2019, in January, Civil, my organization, actually started working, and then shortly after, the Flemish government funded 7 more citizen science projects in the region. Now, since we started, we've defined for ourselves these 3 goals. So first of all, we want to promote citizen science, mainly in academia, policy, and other stakeholders in society like companies, NGOs, etc. We want to make synergies visible and create networking opportunities for people involved in citizen science so they can work together. We want to support project coordinators by giving them advice, educational tools and resources, and free, concrete things that we've established in the little time that we've existed is our communication guide, available in Dutch and English from our website. Our own website also contains a getting started guide for citizen science with tips and links to online tools and literature. For now, it's only available in Dutch, but it will be in English soon. And our citizen science networking event, which unfortunately in April was canceled due to COVID. Now, we are quite a young organization. As I said, we started in 2019, and our first year was mostly setting up our network and experimenting with things we could do to enable citizen science practitioners. And now in 2020, we want to think about what we want to achieve in the future, set our big strategic goals. And to start this, we want to get to know the entire field. So we organized 2 surveys, one of citizen scientists and one of academics. In June, we also organized 7 different focus groups with representatives from different stakeholder groups. And the insights from this process we are taking forward into our strategic process when we're still in the process of defining our goals for the next 5 years. That's it. I hope I have some time for questions. If not, you can still reach me with the contact details on the bottom of my poster right here.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much for the presentation and for sticking to the agreed time. I have no questions from the audience so far, but again, you can, if anyone has any questions, you can do so in the chat rooms in the break. They're going to provide a private Zoom meeting for you, and if not, they have the contact at the end of the poster to contact Jeff directly. So thank you so much. We're still having problems connecting with Viola Hoffman, which was the previous presentation. So we're gonna go right ahead and skip to the next e-poster session. We're gonna start with the digital and technology e-poster sessions that were supposed to follow your presentation. Thank you so much, Jeff. For those just joining us, again, I will provide a very short time at the end of each presentation. Yes, you have 5 minutes for the presenters just to mention their poster and their work. Everyone listening, you can ask your questions in the chat room at Vimeo. You don't have to wait until the presentation is done. You can do so during the presentation and they will be read out loud. If they're not read out loud, don't worry, you'll have plenty of time during the breaks in private Zoom meetings. And at the end of each e-poster, all of them are already available online. You have the contact means for each of the presenters if you want to contact them directly. So the first part of this session, Digital and Technology 1, we're going to have Monica Maciuliene. I hope I said that right. I don't know if she's already with us, with her e-poster entitled Conceptualizing the Use of Blockchain Technologies in Citizen Science. Oh, we don't have her online. All right. Well, we can move on then to Mary Ford. Mary Ford, she's the Director of Professional Learning for National Geographic Society. Hello, Mary, welcome. Hello. And she's going to be presenting Using Citizen Science and Technology to Empower a New Generation of Explorers, Case Studies and Conversation with National Geographic. Thank you so much. The floor is all yours.
Do you see my screen now? All right.
We can only see you for now. We're not seeing the shared screen.
Should I? Oh, I'm sorry. Should I share my screen now?
Yes, please.
And shall I do my presentation now?
If you don't mind, yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. Here we go.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Here we go. Hello. So I'm Mary Ford. I am Director of Professional Learning at the National Geographic Society in Washington, D.C. And one of our areas of focus is using citizen science as an educational approach. Our goal at National Geographic is to help learners develop the mindset of an explorer. And to define an explorer's mindset, we interviewed National Geographic explorers all around the world and found common themes in their skills and attitudes. So explorers have attitudes of curiosity, responsibility, and empowerment, and they are skilled in observation, communication, collaboration, and problem solving. So we quickly realized that citizen science involves all of these skills and attitudes, and therefore engaging in citizen science helps students and teachers develop an explorer's mindset. For several years, we've been developing resources to help educators as they bring citizen science into their classrooms or into other informal learning environments. And I've highlighted some of our most significant resources here, and we focus on the use of mobile technology where possible in order to introduce youth to innovation and to literally put science into their hands. So on the top left here, you see a screenshot of our free resource library, which includes hundreds of lesson plans and videos and articles for use by educators. We have a collection of these resources related to citizen science, and this collection sees some of the highest numbers of traffic on our site overall. I've also included here a reference to the Marine Debris Tracker app, which we also call the Debris Tracker app because it does not have to be used in marine environments, developed by the University of Georgia. And we've used it all over the world to introduce students to data collection around litter and plastic pollution. And we have a suite of materials to support the use of Debris Tracker, ranging from downloadable PDFs in multiple languages to inspirational videos. And In the middle here, we highlight the iNaturalist and Seek apps and initiatives, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And we promote and support the use of these apps and projects with students and offer professional development on how to use them in the form of live workshops and online webinars and videos. And we have found through research, through evaluation, that providing training in how to use these apps really improves student outcomes. So if teachers are trained on how to use them, you see much better outcomes in terms of students learning and in terms of shifts in their attitudes towards nature. So iNaturalist, of course, is best for students 13 and over, while Seek protects the privacy of younger children. And then over here on the right is another screenshot of our resource library, which highlights our classroom resources that specifically help teachers and students analyze data from citizen science projects. We're very interested not just in helping students collect data, but helping educators access, understand, and use data with their students. So you can find our free resources about that. And finally, you can see here that we partner with SciStarter to provide a branded portal into their database of citizen science projects. And on the portal, we feature National Geographic projects, but we also encourage users to participate in projects all over the world. So we're excited to grow our work in citizen science, and especially in connecting educators to citizen science through technology. So I'd be happy to hear from you at any time, and my email is here on the poster. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you for the presentation, and everyone, please go see Mary's poster that is available through the program. It's a beautiful poster, and good to hear all the projects that Nat Geo is doing. Thank you so much. We're going to go back to the previous presentation that we lost communications with Viola. Now we have gained communications back with her, so we're going to see if she's able to present her poster entitled Science Centers as a Broker for Citizen Science. I don't know if Viola Hoffman, we have you online. Apparently she's not. The internet hates us. All right. Well, we can go then to Philip's presentation. If you don't mind, Philip Hammer, Synergies by Design. This is that's the name of the presentation. Synergies by Design, Citizen Science on the SPOTTERON app platform. Philip?
Hi. Thank you very much. Hi. I click my screen sharing now. All right, that should work. Does that work? Yes, perfectly. Okay. Hi, my name is Philip. I'm from the SPOTTERON Citizen Science platform, and we are building citizen science apps since 2014. And in our poster, we want to introduce a little bit how synergies between projects are done, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel all over again all the time when launching freshly. In general, there are, from our view at least, two ways to create a citizen science app: as a standalone app or on a platform with shared functionalities. And apps nowadays, especially modern apps with interaction and with interactivity, like citizen science apps are, have common traits and features. Like in this case, we identified 4 core principles, and one of them is for sure a good, well-designed and high usability and a well-done development in terms of code and stability. A second important part for every citizen science apps is updates and supports during the whole runtime of a project, which means that the apps can adapt to the fast-changing mobile environment and that they run stable and safe. Also, data management is always a core element of citizen science projects, where the data from the apps come together and they are listed in an administration interface normally, where they can also be exported. Also important for citizen science apps out there in the wild is a stable and reliable infrastructure, which provides the basis. This is the server structure, and it's influenced directly the performance and also the safety of the participants. And one core element which all citizen science apps and interactive tools consist of are features and technologies. So features are in general all elements in a citizen science app which come together as a puzzle, like logging in, like a user profile, or also like contributing data. And we know that all by heart in our daily life when we use other apps. There are so many features present in social channels, in apps about information, e-learning, and so forth, that there is a good question if one project can build this all alone by themselves. And what we want to talk a little bit here and want to introduce is a platform approach where one project can benefit from these synergies. So I walk you quickly through how we do apps on the citizen science platform in a general process. And this starts here on the left. I hope this is on the screen. Yes, perfect. It starts on the left in the orange bubbles with project meetings, the definition phase. This is a co-creation process together with the research teams, and it leads to a citizen science project definition. And this definition has all the content elements inside, the translation, e-learning content, visual elements, etc., which are project related. We on the platform take that then to an app basic development. So that means we create the app data structure on the system, on the platform, and here comes the magic in such cases of shared synergies. So we have this core principle where if one project needs a feature, a functionality within the app, like, for example, creating timelines or a night mode for citizen science, which is done in the night times, then we can create this feature and share it for free with all the other apps on the platform and implement that for free without development costs. And this is a synergy which is not only possible by just building the app, but having a platform underneath it where these benefits can emerge from and where these features are built on, and in a compatible way for all projects. Then in this process we finalize the app. So there is always the phase of bug fixing, implementing changes, content, reviewing, and after that there will be a final app release. And what is very important, after the app release on Android and iOS normally, and as a fallback as a web application for people who don't want to participate in smartphones, but on the browser, then there is an ongoing support phase. And this is during the whole runtime. So these synergies we are able to create by providing a platform for citizen science apps. And in our personal view, we have done this now since 2014, and there are over 30 active citizen science projects running on SPOTTERON, some of the logos you see below here. And this has proven a very well functional principle where one citizen science project can benefit from the developments of others. So I'm happy to talk more about that also in our talk about technology, and I hope that I'm still in time. Are we still in time? 30 seconds. Okay. So this 30 seconds, I perhaps want to share this personal view as a citizen scientist myself. By participation comes always a little bit of being part of a community in a way. So when I contribute in citizen science apps, I want to have, like connections to the people I know, my friends who are also participating. And this particular parts of this ecosystem, like the community package, the data quality tools which we have implemented, and all these other functionalities coming together.
Thank you so much, Philip. We have a question from the audience, if you don't mind. Ramin is asking, are you considering going open source eventually?
That's a very good question. Yes, we're great open source fans, but open source means also you have to maintain the project. And as you can imagine, this is a task on itself. The second part here is that we have a small team. We are an SME, a small medium enterprise. And as a small team, we pay wages for sure, and fair wages. And so this is also an important part which comes into consideration here. In the future, I would love to, step by step at least, to go more into the open source direction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to try to get back online Viola Hoffman. I see if her connection improved to present her poster. Hello, Viola. Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
Perfectly. Great. So you can go right ahead and present Science Centers as a broker for citizen science.
Thank you very much for your patience. So hi, everyone. I would like to talk to you today about Science Centers as broker for citizen science, and present to you our new format, the Forum, as part of our Science Center Experiment in Heilbronn. And first of all, let me give you a brief introduction. You can see this on the side here on the poster. So Science centers often define themselves as knowledge providers. So the visitors are like in a passive role of knowledge consumer. And in contrast to that, we define ourselves as science broker. So participation is a key element for us, and we try to not only force the visitor into the observer role, but get them participating in the field of science. And this opens also new ways of science communication and transferring up-to-date scientific findings and content to the public. So our forum, which you can see here in the middle of the poster, is a new approach or a new platform or exhibition format for the exchange and science communication. We have here a lot of different interactive stations which are displaying different scientific contents from different fields and topics. And but the focus is that the visitor can inform, but also discuss and participate. And here a key role plays the World Explorer and interactive stations, where more than 50 citizen science projects from all over the world are displayed. And the visitor can here directly engage as citizen scientists with the different projects, inform, read how to participate and which scientists are behind the projects, and also directly start to engage as a citizen scientist. And this is our aim here. And we have also staff guides there who support the visitors by explaining, for example, some citizen science tools or the apps behind, and this is also key here. And on the right side, we have we present our long-term goal and vision, because now we are focused more on this 3 parts: informing, participation, and discussion. But in the future, we are planning more to focus also on the connecting and also designing process directly by planning events, meetups between citizen scientists, but also stakeholders from research, from policy, from industry, from public, to just get them all together in the forum and create a lively community where new ideas can be created and maybe new citizen scientist projects can be started. And this is like the idea behind the forum on the long term. Yeah, that's all. I think I have still some time left. Okay, so 1 minute. Yeah, so the forum, we just opened it last year, so in 2019, so it's a very new format, and we are also till now collecting experience. So now I'm on for your questions.
Thank you so much, Viola. Great for keeping the time. I'm glad we could finally hear you. It was perfect. Now, I have just one quick question. What criteria do you use to showcase the citizen science project? Do you say when people go to the center, they get informed about citizen science project? How do you select which projects to show or what to include?
Yeah. We German organization Bürgerschaften Wissen, and they pre-select the projects more or less, and we get the projects from their platform or from their database and directly display them on our station.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna take a 15-minute break that is in the program. Yes, a comfort break. So anyone who didn't have their questions or get their questions answered, you can go into the Zoom meeting, the social meeting, and you can ask directly to the authors of the presentations. Thank you so much, Viola, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. Hello and welcome back to the e-poster session entitled Digital and Technology. This is part 2. Each presenter will have 5 minutes to present their poster. All posters are online and can already be accessed through the conference program. I will provide a very short time at the end of each presentation for a quick question from the audience and obviously a quick response from the presenters. So anyone listening, you can ask your questions directly in the chat. You don't have to wait until the presentation is done. If your presentations are not read out loud, you don't worry. You're gonna have a private, you can ask for a private Zoom meeting in the coffee break. And on each poster at the bottom, you can find a means of contact if you wish to discuss the topic further with the presenters. First up, we have Barbara Carneiro with the poster entitled Creating a Citizens Information Pack on Ethical and Legal Issues around Information and Communication Technologies and what should be included. So Barbara, the floor is all yours.
Hi everyone. I'm going to talk shortly about panel fit and the Citizen Information Pack. Panel fit stands for Participatory Approach to a New Ethical and Legal Framework for ICT. And it is a Horizon 2020 funded project that wants to facilitate the implementation of the new European Data Protection Regulation regarding ICT-based research and innovation. PanelFit aims to create a set of outcomes that serve as operational standards.
Sorry, Barbara, I need to interrupt you a little bit. Would you mind muting the live feed you have on, because we can hear the music. Thank you so much. That is way perfect. Thank you. Carry on.
Well, but how can I?
Still listening to the music.
You get it?
If you have a pair of headsets, maybe, so you don't.
Okay, I think now it's.
Welcome, everybody. Can you hear me well?
You see, you have to close Vimeo. You have to leave only the presentation on the StreamYard.
P10, ecology. I'm sorry, P8, ecology.
Okay, I'm very sorry.
Environment 2.
It's okay.
I don't have.
And I am happy to host this e-poster session. Today we have only two presenters.
We have a Vimeo live on the background.
Questions. And please write your questions in the chat.
I don't.
And Monica and
anyone has a Vimeo background?
5 minutes each to present their posters.
Maybe Alessandro?
Discuss.
We can go to Alessandro now, if you don't mind, Barbara. We're going to switch you guys up so we can fix that technical issue. Alessandro Sarreta, you're going to be presenting OpenStreetMap, an opportunity for citizen science, if you can hear as well.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfectly. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay. So thank you. I'm Alessandro Sarreta from the National Research Council, but mainly here as a national coordinator of OpenStreetMap in Italy. And the poster is about OpenStreetMap as an opportunity for citizen science. And you probably know about OpenStreetMap as a map of the world, but more than a map, it's a database of geospatial information that has probably the currently largest, reaches the most up-to-date open geospatial information available. It's not per se a citizen science project or a tool, but it has some links. And with this presentation, I'd like to highlight the possible links with the citizen science world, community, and project. And OpenStreetMap, it's a map, of course, and maybe the OpenStreetMap.org page you know quite well, but it's more than that, a database of information. It's told as the Wikipedia of the maps, because it's also a worldwide project, community-driven, multilingual, but with a focus on local knowledge, and a very strong focus also on open data. All the information in the database, it's open with a standard open license, so that all the information can be reused for any purpose. It's a feature-rich database, so that with a simple data model, OpenStreetMap can contain thousands of different map features. And I'm talking about things that are on the Earth, on the surface, and also below. But we're not talking about time series or a species distribution, but everything that can be verified by a person on the ground or from satellite images, like land use, natural things like lakes, forests, trees, buildings, roads, or hospitals and health facilities. All of them can be seen in a map. That's the standard map. But there are many more maps that can be built and are available in different flavors, depending on the perspective of the users. It can be built with different perspectives. And there are many services to download, extract, evaluate, manage, perform quality checks on the data, APIs, standard interfaces, and also many smartphone apps that are used with different approaches for mapping things, to entering information in OpenStreetMap, for navigation, track recording, augmented reality, travel planning, or games in OpenStreetMap. And this has also a connection, so that there's a science work on OpenStreetMap, mainly on the analysis of contribution patterns, how to engage with the community, but also using data from OpenStreetMap for scientific domain-specific purposes. And here there's a possible connection, and there's already some explicit links with citizen science projects. But I think I wanted to highlight more the possible ways these two words can talk, and OpenStreetMap can for sure contribute to citizen science with tools and services for collection of information, and having background maps that we've seen also in previous presentations, an open approach to the data collection and availability with standard licenses, and a way to also preserve citizen science data in a worldwide database that's always available. And citizen science, of course, can enrich the types and quality of data through valuable verified data from citizen science community, attract and involve new people also in the contribution in OpenStreetMap, and also extend geographically and thematically the things that can be mapped. And I think also that custom tools that we have seen applied in citizen science might be integrated in the OpenStreetMap technical ecosystem. In the poster, you have the links of the authors and some other links to mailing lists, all the community stuff. So the wiki, the Telegram groups, the guides, and the weekly news, so that it's more like a showcase of what possibly we can do together. And please make in contact, send information during the conference and later on, because I think there's really a value in enrich this connection between OpenStreetMap and citizen science projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alessandro. You have a lot of fan mail in the chat, people that saying that they love OpenStreetMap, not only for what they do for citizen science, but for the whole web community. So I'm guessing you brought your friends to the conference, which is great. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to the next presentation, which is Paolo Di Viaco. Oh, no, sorry, we're not Paolo Di Viaco. We're going to go back to Barbara Carneiro. Barbara, we have you now, and you here as well.
Hello, sorry for the complication before.
It's okay, go right ahead.
PanelFit stands for Participatory Approach to a New Ethical and Legal Framework for ICT. ICT is Information and Communications Technology, for those not used to the term. And PanelFit is a Horizon 2020 funded project that wants to facilitate the implementation to this new European data protection regulating, especially regarding to ICT-based research and innovation. It aims to create a set of outcomes that will serve as operational standards and practical guidelines able to reduce the ethical and legal issues by the ICT technologies. So as part of it, PanelFit will create a citizen information pack explaining the ethical and legal issues related to data protection and security such as the GDPR, data privacy, online security, etc. This information pack will identify and enhance good practice that can be applied to citizen science projects in different areas and support efforts to explore ways for integrating data and knowledge collected through the initiatives. And also suggest mechanisms for standardization, interoperability, and quality control. And to create this information pack, a workshop was held in Berlin in the beginning of this year before the lockdown. And we had different backgrounds and expertise. And the finding of these workshops are that citizens information pack should include clear definitions of key terms such as personal data, data management, cybersecurity, due to the fact that there is not always a shared understanding of all the terms around data protection and ethical and legal issues around ICTs. It should be included step-by-step guidance and or checklists, considering the best structure and necessary content for the information pack. And as vulnerability varies widely within Europe's population, so does people's vulnerability in relation to data rights and privacy. So to consider vulnerable groups in terms of barriers they encounter and devise strategies for overcoming each barrier rather than seeking solutions for each distinct group. As you can see, you can check the full report. It's available online. And the next steps for the panel fit and for the citizen information pack are the outcomes of this workshop will be used to start planning the pack with more detail. And it's also aimed to conduct a wider survey of the population about the ethical and legal issues around the ICT, as well the challenge they face. The pack is due to completion in September 2021 and will be written in a simple, accessible style and available in 4 languages, English, Italian, German, and Spanish. It will include different types of material, like guidelines, interviews, videos, and will also be available on the PanelFit website. If you have suggestions or any other comments about the PanelFit or interest in being part of the information pack, just send in an email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Very interesting what you presented. I was just a quick question, since we have no questions from the audience, I'll make one myself. How do you deal, or how can you smoothen the transition between legal strict terms and terminology and the actual scientists or citizen scientists, or the actors that are playing in the citizen science project? Do you have a strategy to do that? Sometimes legal terms can be very strict.
No, exactly. No, because of that, we want to hold workshops and get different backgrounds to change this process in the most smooth way, or the better way to do, because it's very complicated terms.
Thank you so much for your time. We're going to move on to the next of the presentations. We're going to move to part 3. We're done with part 2. And first speaker we have in the house is Paolo Di Viaco. Paolo Di Viaco is going to be presenting citizen science and crowdsourcing in the field of marine scientific research, the Mad Crow project. Paolo, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you perfectly, yes.
Okay.
You can go right ahead with your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. So, good evening. My name is Paolo Di Viaco. I'm from the National Institute of Oceanography and Applied Geophysics in Trieste. So we would like to present a little bit what we have done within the Mad Crow project. The Mad Crow project is a project devoted to monitoring the environment, the marine environment. And
sorry, Paolo, I have to interrupt you. Do you mind making your screen full screen? Because we can see.
Is it supposed to be full screen? Is not. Sorry.
Your Windows.
Yeah. Swap display. Like this.
That's much better. Thank you. Carry on.
Sorry very much, man. Probably I pressed the wrong button. Anyway, so the macro project is a project devoted to marine environment monitoring, and the idea is that we would like to promote as much as possible and develop all the technologies to foster the approach of the crowdsourcing and citizen science approach in this field. Of course, the marine environmental monitoring is a very important activity, especially in the perspective of the UN Sustainable Development Goal. And the problem is that so far, these activities have been performed using very large vessels, very expensive vessels, not only the vessel in itself, but also the logistics, the personnel, so on and so forth, which means that since the funding is pretty limited and sometimes also decreasing, this results essentially in an under-coverage of the phenomena. So the MedCrow project tried to switch from this tradition to a new perspective in which the data is acquired in a crowdsourcing approach. And then so we presented our project, and the project was funded under the European Regional Development Fund, which means that we have a regional focus on the Gulf of Trieste. But at the same time, we also support open innovation between the public and private institutions. In fact, our partnership, half is private company and half is a research institution. Of course, in the perspective of environment awareness and blue economy. So what do we monitor? Essentially, the biogeochemical cycle of carbon through, let's say, commercial sensor for temperature, salinity, pH, and dissolved oxygen. What we have done the full, say, path from the sensing to the end user access to data and information. For the acquisition, we have developed all the electronics and that, of course, embeds a GPS system to georeference the data, and the sensor acquires continuously and transmit continuously to our servers. All this electronics packed inside a bag that can be deployed on any kind of leisure boat or small vessel without interfering with the activities of the boat. So essentially, the sailor decides where to go, and he acquires the data automatically. The data is transmitted to our server where some processing is done. The grading is superimposed, and there are some averages that are done on a cell, on a cube actually, of 200 meters by 200 meters by 1 hour. So the resolution is pretty high. So we can produce maps that can be used by scientists directly and can be also shared through the main data sharing initiatives such as the European AMODNet or CDataNet project. But what we are very interested in is to try to make, let's say, complex products easier to be read. And so we have developed, let's say, a contextualization process. In fact, if we refer to, let's say, to the classical pyramids that from data to information to knowledge, we actually crowd sense the data in the first layer. Then when we process the data, we create some quality indexes that can be used with some contextualization to create easy to be accessed information for communities such as fishermen rather than policymaker or the simple tourist that want to know exactly where he is, say, swimming or something like this. So, okay, so the idea is that through this process we can access directly, easily the data, and we hope to foster the collaboration of citizen science to add further data to the system. I'd rather finish. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Paolo, for your presentation. Everyone listening, you can go to the poster, and if you have any further questions, you can contact Paolo directly by the means of contact he established at the top. And next up, we're gonna switch it up a bit. We're going to bring Laura Martinez Sanchez. Oh, sorry, no, Mel. Okay, you guys are confusing me. Mel Woods. Mel Woods from Contributory to Collegial, a model to foster citizen-led open data innovation in citizens observatories, correct?
That's correct, yes, thank you.
The floor is yours, then, Mel.
Okay. Let's see, can you see this okay? Are you able to see my screen okay?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the GROW Observatory. GROW is a citizen observatory funded out of the H2020 Citizen Observatory Programme. It was in particular, if I zoom in, if I'm not able to, oh yes, I'm able to zoom in. It was set up with quite a top-down scientific aim in mind. That was to help validate Sentinel-1 satellite soil moisture data sets at continental scale and longitudinally. We recruited 24 communities altogether in 13 member states. As you can see from the map here, we placed sensors all the way over from the United Kingdom, from Ireland right the way over to Greece in a number of different geographic locations. So the protocol, in order to meet the scientific requirements, was one that was quite complex. We were using a consumer off the peg low-cost sensor that had been validated alongside professional sensors. And the challenge was to enable and empower citizens, and not in a top-down way, in order to make use of the soil moisture data itself, given that the protocol was highly complex. So we ran several insight workshops and massive open online courses in order to support people across a wide continuum of expertise, and to train people on data use, data awareness, and how to analyze their data. When we had enough data, we started to trigger opportunities for open science, and we started to release that data, raw data, openly, that we allocated to our citizens, and they owned the data in order for them to start their own experiments in their place. So if you imagine in Greece, the types of problems that people may want to use soil moisture for are ones of maybe forest fire, of desertification, different practices for the healthy soils, and for maintaining watering of crops. And we saw, as well as meeting the top-down contributory types of science, so that is giving the data to validation for satellite science, we saw communities starting to use the data for themselves. So for instance, in the Canary Islands, in El Hierro, they realized they'd been over-irrigating by about 30% in their banana farm. And another community in Greece started to do some monitoring of wetlands, of bird migration in the wetland areas, where that was changing due to climate change. So we have termed this a positive leaky pipeline effect, where open data that's owned by citizens but is drawn on by science can give rise to positive social innovation at a local level. And we have seen our project approach, participatory approach, very much move from a top-down contributory model to the end of the project by a very collegial model where citizens and communities were using the data for themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mel, for your presentation. A very interesting project. Next up, as we have no questions from the audience, we have Laura Martinez Sanchez with her presentation entitled Crowdsourced and Surveyed Images as a Source of In-Situ Data for Crops, Phenology, and Agricultural Landscapes. Laura, can you hear us well? You're on mute.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, I can hear you.
The floor is all yours then.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Here, as he said, I would like to show you an example of use of street-level imagery on agricultural monitoring. So as we all know, the main data stream for agricultural monitoring is our satellite imagery. And here we would like to present you a use of computer vision and neural networks to study the crop classification, if it's possible, and even phenology stages, more detailed than the ones that Sentinel is able to capture. So in order to be able to do that, we did a field campaign in 2008 in the province of Flevoland, Netherlands, with a car with two-sided cameras. And we collect information on the track that you can see here in black in this map. And from all this information, we survey a total of 200 fields by an expert that we extracted the phenology stages of these pictures for different types of crops. And here you can see a graph with the images distributed by phenology stage and the crop type. So in order to add the time dimension to this problem as Sentinel is able to capture, we run a total of 9 different visits to exactly the same area and collect the same information with the experts. Here again, you can see a distribution of images, but in this case, with the different field campaigns that we survey. In blue, you can see the total amount of images. In green, the one that intersects with a parcel. And the violet one is the ones that we actually have ground truth data for it. After that, what we did is to add the spatial meaning to this information. So in order to do it, what we did is took the points that we were capturing with these cameras, the GPS locations, and we translated to the size of the parcels. And with the official parcel declaration of the area, we just intersect the information and associate the image to a parcel. And we did the same with the ground truth data surveyed by the experts. So we end up with a data set that had information of the specific parcel that belongs to and the phenology stage and crop type. In order to solve this classification problem, we use a light-weighted convolutional neural network developed by Google that is called MobileNet V2. And in order to speed up the training, what we did is to use the ImageNet weights. To be able to find the highest accuracy possible in the less time also possible, what we did is a random search of the main hyperparameters of the net to be able to select the models that reach the highest accuracy with these specific parameters. Here you can see the distribution of the accuracies of the models that we run. And in this area of parameters, you can see that we achieve actually the highest accuracies. So once we did this hyperparameter tuning, we extract the accuracies from the test set and run again the top 10 models with some flipping augmentations and more epochs. And from those ones, we extract the final model that are the metrics that you can see here. So as a metric to validate our problem, our classification problem, we extract the picture accuracy for the crop and the phenology stage associated to it at a picture level and at a parcel level. To be able to extract this information at a parcel level, what we did is a basic majority voting that you can see here. So let's say that we are studying this parcel. These are the points of the images. And here you can see the actual images. On the left side is the ground truth. On the right side is the predicted by the neural network. In this case, since the majority is potato number 6, we establish that the parcel is a parcel of potatoes with a phenology stage 6. So once we understand what are we doing with the metrics accuracy, here you can see the final accuracies that we achieve on this model, and is mainly 95, almost 95% of accuracy at a parcel level for crops, and adding the phenology stage, we achieve an 82% of accuracy with a simple neural network, meaning that computer vision can help us to monitor agricultural parcels and even to extract information like landscape features that can be useful to use a more sustainable kind of agriculture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura, for your presentation. I made a little mistake. I switched you up with one of the speakers, so I'm going to left you a little extra time to speak before we start with the next session. I had a quick question for you. This is extremely interesting, the use of neural networks for this purpose. It's a great approach. I have a question about how feasible is it to replicate this this methodology that you used in a different agricultural lands, and not only in where you conducted your experiments. Are you planning to expand it to other regions in the Netherlands or other countries?
Yes, actually, one of our ongoing projects is to extract information of the Lucas database images. That is a Neurostat database of images that are from all over Europe. in a different yearly stages. And we not only want to extract crop information, but also landscape information like grass margins, type of flowers, and meaningful information for the agricultural landscape. Yes.
That is impressive work. Thank you so much, Laura, for your presentation.
Thank you.
And we are going to wait a couple of minutes, I believe, for the next presentation to show up. We have Eugenio Gervasini. Maybe we don't. Oh, you want Mariam first? Okay, we're gonna bring then Mariam first if she has her presentation ready. Mariam Loftian. Yes. There we go. Hello, Mariam. Can you hear us well?
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me well?
Absolutely, perfectly. Mariam Lotfian, I'm sorry if I'm not saying that correctly. Her e-poster is, oh, you have to share your screen. That's what they're saying in the control room.
Okay, you see my screen?
It's showing up now, perfectly. So the e-poster is entitled Combining Citizen Science and Machine Learning Techniques to Address the Two Main Issues of User Engagement and Data Validation in Citizen Science Projects, correct? So take your time whenever you're ready.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Mariam. I'm a PhD student from University of Applied Science in Western Switzerland and Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Well, my PhD work is mainly focused on understanding how the combination of citizen science and machine learning techniques can help us addressing the two issues of participation and data quality in citizen science projects. When we are talking about data validation, the most common approach, especially in biodiversity citizen science project, is expert data validation. While we cannot ignore the importance of expert data validation in citizen science projects, considering and relying on this approach as the main validation approach in our project can have also some negative impacts. For instance, it can be really time consuming to validate if you're talking about large amounts of data. And also another point is that when the participants make contribution to the project until they receive a feedback from the experts, sometimes the time gap can be really large and then it can result in demotivating the participants. Therefore, considering these elements, we have the research question here is that whether combining human and machine power can help in a way automating this validation task and also give real-time feedbacks to the participants so that to keep them more engaged and motivated to the project. Considering this research question, we have designed our biodiversity citizen science project, which includes automatic filtering functionality, which these filters include checking date, image, and location of the biodiversity observations. The approach is that when the participant make an observation to the project, the observation passes through an automatic filtering. And if the observation passes not successfully, it would be flagged as an unusual observation. Then the user will receive a feedback about this observation and decides either to modify and resubmit the observation considering the given feedback or confirm the observation as it is, and then it will pass through the expert review and the expert will do the final validation. In this approach, we are trying to, in one way, to reduce the number of observations which would pass to be validated by the experts, and also in another way, by giving feedbacks to the participants, we are trying to sustain their participation and also provide an opportunity for the participants to learn about biodiversity. For instance, when we are talking about the validation of the location of observations, the feedback can include information such as the species habitat characteristics, including the land cover types, and so on. We have done a pilot test of this approach with the bachelor students in GIS course of our university here in Switzerland. And among the students who contributed to the project, two of them mentioned that receiving feedback was interesting for them because it helped them to change and modify the observation. And one of the students mentioned that it was a good feeling to know that they have found a rare observation. For instance, finding a bird species out of their visibility period. It was interesting for them to know that. As I mentioned, we have yet done just the pilot test with our students, but to conclude, our objective is to try this approach with a large group of participants and to see if this approach helps in simplifying data validation and improve data quality in our biodiversity citizen science project, and also by giving informative and real-time feedbacks to the participants if it helps in sustaining their participation and keeping them engaged in our project. The last point is that we are trying to see if this approach passes successfully for our biodiversity citizen science project, if or how it can be integrated in other citizen science projects besides biodiversity. So that is all from me, and thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mariam, for your presentation. It is very interesting and very nice to see that there are some machine learning techniques and neural networks in the previous chat as well, and the previous presentation as well. I have a question. We have no questions from the audience, so I'm going to ask you a quick question because I have honestly not a lot of idea how to build, how to work with machine learning techniques. How much data do they require to build a solid neural network, and to actually validate it? How many photos or reports are we talking about?
Well, actually, for the image validation, we have used a pre-trained model using an API, which is called Clarify. And for the location validation, we are using eBird dataset and also Flickr dataset for checking the species locations and then to build the model, species distribution models, and to do the validation through that. But for the first approach for the image, yeah, as I said, we are using a pre-trained model.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks. That was one of the questions I had. Thank you then, Mariam Lotfian, for your presentation. And we're going to listen to the last presentation of the session. That is Eugenio Gervasini. Hope I said that right.
Yes, yeah. Gervasini is sweeter, but it doesn't matter. It's fine.
Gervasini. And your presentation is entitled Building a European Community of Interest Around Invasive Alien Species, correct? So
yeah. Yes. Can you see my screen?
It's showing up now. Please put it in full screen mode if you want.
Full screen mode. It's a PDF.
It's
because
a PDF, so
yeah.
I think Control L puts it in full screen mode. Try that.
Control L. Yeah.
Yes. Up.
Okay.
There we go.
So our starting point. Thank you very much for inviting us to give the presentation of what we are doing at the European Alien Species Information Network, which is a JRC, Joint Research Center of the European Commission Service in Italy. We start from the point that biodiversity around us is changing, and sometimes it's changing very rapidly as a consequence of human intervention on landscape because of urbanization, building, and so on, and pollution, but also for the presence of species which are not native to our territory, and which are called alien species, some of which can become later on more damaging to the native species and are called invasive alien species. Why citizen science and the need for community of interest around this topic? Because people are more often actors of the spread of these species by purchasing, exchanging, transporting, facilitating their movement across Europe. That's why, and are present quite often around cities. That's why we think that their contribution in monitoring and early detection is vital for supplying further knowledge to researchers and managers to act upon the spread of these species. So we started at EASIN raising awareness on the issue, educating people, and transferring science throughout science communication and direct interaction via social media. Our system gathers information on more than 14,000 species, alien species in Europe, from a network of data partners, and provide the information through web services which allow retrieving information and spatial data. But the need for data is growing. That's why we involve people by means of developing a specific app which allows a reporting of invasive alien species of union concern, supporting the implementation of EU regulation on invasive alien species. But what we do is also more and more posting news and tailored communication on scientific updates. And we have seen that the community around us, following us, is growing. And this is witnessed by the fact that the app is downloaded more and more, and we receive more information. We try to engage with people also directly, not only in virtual manner, participating to events, scientific events, which take place across Europe. And for this reason, we have also developed a pilot board game, which attracts quite a lot young people, as you can possibly see in the center picture. And we also have published, along with scientific publications, some tailored papers for journals, which editorial board is composed of kids who evaluate the value of what is transferred to this kind of audience. So this the activity of building the community of interest has presents some challenges, and we have been dealing with that since the inception of what we are doing. And these are mainly the different kind of perception across member states on the value of biodiversity, and the attitude that people have towards what we call invasive alien species, which sometimes are cute and nice to see. And also we see that there is a lack of awareness of the important role that people have as stakeholders, and the role that can have in contributing to monitoring, but also to stimulate policymakers and managers in taking action, especially towards something which can threaten their health. We have a problem for language barriers, because we are doing things at the central level, but we are talking to 27 member states with 24 different languages. There is a lot to do for what concerns personal motivation, and we want to work more on that. Of course, there is also a matter of resources and funding. Now our next goal is to prepare what are called MOOC, massive open online courses, to address to students, secondary school, to involve them during their curriculum on invasive alien species. So this is in brief what we have been doing. I can receive a question if any.
Thank you so much, Eugenio, for your presentation. Very interesting project. We have a question from Diego. He says that the board game is very interesting, and which are the main goals of the game? Is it to foment participation, engagement, cooperation? Is it a competitive game, etc.?
Mainly, the game is aimed at increasing knowledge about invasive alien species. So the task is to match pictures with the description of the species and to find the relevant pathway. So the way the species follow to be introduced in our continent from the native range, let's say North America, through shipping or trade or whatever. So that gives say is more towards education. There is not a competitive for time being. Is still
right.
A pilot, but we might introduce something like gaming, something like that. Yes.
Thank you so much. And we have one last question, if you have time. Yes, we do. From Thais Fonseca Rech. She's asking, or he's asking, I wonder what would be the potential for the app to detect invasive alien species in aquatic environments, because therefore the app could be used by divers and fishermen, etc.
Actually, the app is serving the implementation of the EU Regulation 1143/2014, which lists just a couple of marine species so far. One is a crayfish, and the other one is a fish. The app allows reporting invasive alien species in freshwater environments, in which we can detect. We have the chance to spot almost half of the 66 species which are currently listed by the EU legislation. So this can be coupled with other tools, but for the time being, is mostly a terrestrial app.
All right, thank you so much. And since I do have 10 seconds, I'll ask you a quick question. What kind of response have you gotten from, say, agricultural producers, etc., and more than the general population and schools and kids, obviously, but have you linked to the agricultural producers that are usually more into, you know, keeping an eye on?
Thank you. This is a good question, because what we want to do is to address a group of interest, and farmers are at the eye of the problem, because they either grow or are affected by the fact that there are invasive species in canals, or weeds, or shrubs, or invasive trees. So we want to target this group of interest quite a lot, and there is already an answer, because what we do is networking the experiences which are developed across Europe, and we have a special repository for that. And farmers are already involved in invasive species control and management in some countries. So yes, we want to have them on board.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Eugenio. That is the end of the time we have for all these sessions. Thank you so much for the control group that is in the back pulling the strings so everything works smoothly. And we hope to see you tomorrow, that is. Thank you so much.